unsung heroes from the weekend that was. Can be anybody, coach, player, winner, loser, doesn't matter. Chris has the trivia question. If I get it right, I get the first pick. Lay it on me.
Well, I think I saw the answer to this in our sheets earlier, which is like very questionable already. So, okay, here we go.
Well, now you're giving me a clue.
Well,
I may not
okay,
have
you're
thought
going
of
to
that.
know it if you saw it in the sheets, and I read this. You're going to go, oh, I just read this in the sheets.
Jared
okay?
Allen.
Ryan Tannehill and the Titans upset the Patriots on Sunday, including playoffs. Tannehill now has 5 wins against Tom Brady. 5 wins against Tom Brady. Only one other QB has more victories over TB12. Who is that quarterback?
Only one quarterback has more victories over TB12 all time, more than 5. I mean, the obvious answer is Peyton Manning, but I feel like that's the trick. I feel like that's the trap.
You know this.
But it's got to be Peyton Manning. Who else would it be?
You know this.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that's one of those where it's so obvious. Man, thank you for an easy question for a change.
What? Your last question last week was like, what color's blue? And you were like, blue. And we were like, oh, yeah, you got the first pick.
Color is
I mean, that was the question last week.
Yes. All right, I'm going to start with a guy who we saw at the very front end of that package of sound, Logan Ryan, former Patriots cornerback.
Yep.
Who had a special season in Tennessee. Didn't get the love he should have gotten all year long. We're included in that. I think that he should have been a guy that at least got more than like 1 or 2 scattered votes on the All-Pro team. He had a very, very good season. But he ended the game on Saturday night with a trophy that he said is going on the mantle.
Right.
Thank you, TB12.
That's got
to. May be the last pass that Tom Brady ever threw as a member of the Patriots, intercepted by Logan Ryan, taken into the end zone. And, you know, that one popped into his hands. That was kind of a look what I found. He had one earlier in the game.
He had 2 other ones earlier in the game.
But he said he had one, and his teammates kept telling him, you're going to get your chance, you're going to get your chance.
Right.
And he did. It's not like the Patriots were going to drive down the field and score. They were pinned to get their own end zone.
Right. He was running the hook and ladder there.
But Logan Ryan, this is more of a, he's been an unsung hero for the Titans all year long. And he really hasn't gotten the credit he deserves. And this is a good occasion for us to say we've been paying attention, and maybe we should have been paying more attention. But he deserves for what he did last night and what he did all season.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, he's a really good football player, and it's a defense that likes to play man-to-man. They put a lot of pressure on their corners and do that. And he was all over the place in that game on Saturday night. And that was big time. I believe he got an interception on Brady last year in the regular season game, too. So he's got 2 of them as I burp up my coffee. Okay. Now, I think I am going to go with Danielle. One of these days I'll get it right, Mr. Hunter. I'm just going to call you Mr. Hunter.
It's not that
but
hard.
I'm going to use him.
If you ever saw him in person, you would call him Mr. Hunter.
I know I would.
As you pee down your leg.
Yeah, right.
We'll see him. He is...
he's amazing looking.
Well, I mean, he's the same height as you.
Right.
But he's not
his
your
arms
size.
and muscles look a lot bigger. Right, yes. But Mr. Hunter, okay, is phenomenal. And he is an unsung hero of Sunday. I mean, first off, that was one of the big plays of the game. The strip sack of Drew Brees when the Saints were down 20-17, 4:25 left in the football game. You think the Saints got the momentum. They're going to go down here and get the game-winning touchdown or game-tying field goal. That changed the landscape of it, really. Not only Hunter, but Everson Griffin, they all deserve some credit. You know, the Vikings didn't have to blitz to put pressure on Drew Brees a lot of the game. And as we know, with any good offense, when you can just pressure with your front 4 and leave 7 in pass coverage, it gives your defense and your defensive coordinator, in this case Mike Zimmer, a great advantage. And that's what the Vikings had going. I didn't expect that. You know, the Saints offensive line, one of the best in football all year, the last few years. They have been. And they lost the battle yesterday against that Vikings D-line.
Yeah, and that decision to move Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter to the inside in pass situations, that ended up working out very well. Mike Zimmer was he's just got that way about him where everything's just kind of aw shucks. And he's like, well, we tried something different, and it either works or it doesn't, and it worked.
It worked.
And Hunter and Gray, they're going to have their hands full. We'll be talking later in the week about the 49ers, and they have a great offensive line, but they're going to have their hands full.
Definitely.
With that front 4.
Yeah.
All right, I am going to go to the first game of the weekend. There was an extended period of time where the Houston Texans offense was very sluggish, and also there was a key play that this person made as they tried to take the lead for the first time over the Bills, and that's Darren Fells. tight end.
Sure.
He had 4 catches on the day.
Yep.
3 of them were for first downs.
Right.
2 of them came in that first half where they couldn't do anything. And it's just that, and even though it didn't result in points, it was just kind of that little glimmer of hope, like we aren't being completely shut down. Hey, we were able to get a first down.
Yeah.
But there was a 3rd and 3 play with 5:57 left on the 15 of the Buffalo Bills, 14-yard pass to Fells to set them up for what became the touchdown that put the Texans up 19-16. And, you know, we think DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson when we think Houston Texans offense, but Fells with Will Fuller out, they needed somebody else to do something.
Right.
And those 3 catches, and specifically the last one, those were huge for the Texans.
Huge. He's a huge body. I mean, he's their, you know, their poor man's version of a Gronk, right? A guy that, you know, really I think the Texans could utilize a little more because he is one of those guys like a Gronk where even when he's covered, he's not covered because he's such a large human being and his catch radius is there. But, yeah, you're right, Mike. His catches, the importance of them, the value was really up there. And Kenny Stills not being totally 100% and no Fuller, like you said, they needed another guy. He did a really nice job for them coming through in some big moments. My second pick, I mean, Jadeveon Clowney is going to be an unsung hero. I mean, he knocked the starting quarterback out of another team. Dirty, whatever you may be. I don't think it was dirty, so that's why I'm picking it. I think it's called playing to the whistle, you know, making the quarterback pay.
That sounds a little dirty.
Okay.
Making the quarterback pay sounds a little,
I don't know.
Bit.
Maybe it's called football. It's called you make everybody pay, and you especially make the quarterback pay when he wants to run around. And that's what's going to continue to be the theme. And I would be very pleased with Jadeveon Clowney if I was the coach of the Seahawks.
Now listen.
Yes.
I give you some leeway here.
Yeah.
Given that you were a quarterback who had to pay a very significant price for staying in the pocket.
Right.
An Oregon.
Well, thank you for giving me some leeway there. You know, I think Jadeveon Clowney, he plays like a psycho like this in any game I've watched. So he does do this. Now, does he realize it's the quarterback and his eyes lighten up and go, ooh, you know, I'm going to, you know, give it some extra or make sure I get a lick on him? Of course he does. I mean, that's what every defensive player does. But he's a phenomenal football player. There's a difference in that defense when he's on the field flying around. There was a lot of plays in that game last night where they're not going to go on the stat sheet for Jadeveon Clowney as anything, but he was the culprit of ruining the play, hence why I always say he is one of the kings of football over the last 5 years of the F the play up stat. But that was a huge moment in the football game, as we know. Carson Wentz has been the star of the Eagles, the best player on the team over the last month, and that kind of took the fun out of the game, and I think really took out the realistic part of we thought that the Eagles had a chance to win the game as soon as he went out.
And we've been waiting for Clowney to play like he did in that Monday night game, that game for the ages from him where he just was dominant. The sports hernia, core muscle injury, whatever you want to call it, that started to bother him, and he's been very hit and miss since then. But big game yesterday. And look, right or wrong, dirty or clean, violation or not, and I think it was a violation of the lowering the helmet rule, if you can incapacitate the opposing team's quarterback in a single elimination setting, you are more likely to advance. That's been a fact of football since the moment they first started playing the game. All right, my next one is a guy who signed with the Eagles as a free agent. The Eagles cut him strategically to avoid that whole compensatory draft pick thing. Yes. And he went back to the team that he had come from. Andrew Sendejo, former Vikings safety, pressed into service covering the slot receiver. He had never done it before in his entire career, but they had Mike Hughes mysteriously lands on IR on Friday with a neck injury. Mackenzie Alexander unexpectedly out. The cupboard was bare. So they get Sendejo and they say, go ahead, play the slot. And I mean, it's a click away from making Laquan Treadwell a defensive back like Bill Belichick would have done and has done with Troy Brown and Julian Edelman. And Sendejo, look, that's the kind of position where you only notice him if he makes an interception or he gets burned.
Yeah.
If you don't notice him, that means he's getting the job done.
Right. No doubt about that. You're right. And that was, to me, I mean, that's where Mike Zimmer, phenomenal once again with just some of what he did out there on the defensive side of the ball. You know, I don't want to go to this game again, but to me, it's like, I don't know where else to go here. I feel like I want to talk. I mean, Taysom Hill, I just want to talk about one of the unsung heroes of the weekend.
Is he really unsung, though? Is it unsung?
Yeah, because we're talking about everything but him. I mean, I know we have said it, but is he unsung? I don't know. Okay, so maybe then would you rather me go the Titans offensive line? You know, that's where I want to go.
Well, we already did Derrick Henry.
I know. Well, we've done a lot of
we
these.
Didn't do Derrick Henry. We did Derrick Henry and the Spurlers. Let's talk Taysom Hill.
Okay.
We're going to be talking coming up about the future of Drew Brees.
I mean, Taysom Hill was one of the best players on the field yesterday. As we all sat there and watched the game, we actually sat there and said, why don't they run him more? Why don't they have more of these plays? They obviously had the Vikings in a tactical advantage. And, of course, his ability to throw deep is obviously something that the Saints covet because when they want to throw deep lately, they put Taysom Hill in. But such a weapon, unbelievable in the pass game. And I'm surprised we didn't see more of this, more of the quarterback design runs if you're watching on TV.
And there he goes. They can't stop him.
It's unreal how many tackles and yards he gets after contact.
It's every time he's on the field, you kind of are on the edge of your seat.
You're watching him.
It's been all year long.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton has got to want to use this guy all the time. Now, there's a question of if you use him all the time, can he stay healthy playing like that?
Right.
But let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Sean Payton compared the guy to Steve Young.
Yeah.
He's not going to say something like that recklessly.
No.
It's
Would they get rid of Drew Brees and just go with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill as a duo at quarterback?
Let's talk about that next because we have Drew Brees and Tom Brady due to become free agents. We'll talk about their futures when PFT Live continues right after. Chris Simms, who exclusively monitors and maintains and updates his Twitter page, added this last night. Question we'll be hitting tomorrow, who was the unsung hero wildcard weekend? There was some input, and LMTYA Matt has one of the best answers I've seen, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, yeah, he was an unsung hero.
Hey, that's right, because the Patriots had to play in the round that they hadn't played in since 2009, and they lost.
Yeah.
And, I think that at some level, I think that affected the Saints, too, because the Saints just they should not have been playing. They should have had a bye.
Yeah, sure.
And you still got to take care of business. You're out there on the field. You got to show up and you got to play, even if you think the team on the other side isn't as good as you are.
Well, I think the thing that you're right. You're right. And I do think, one of the things I look at back of the week was, some of the Saints guys still talking about the 49ers Seahawks pass interference thing early last week where I wanted to be like, just, hey, get over it. You got to play a game this week. And, there's little things now you look back at revisionist history and go, I don't know. Did that
was one of the first things I thought of.
Yeah.
When you look at the end of that game and whether it was the bungling of the delay of game that knocked out the first and goal opportunity, the pass interference that took away a first and goal opportunity, the Jacob Hollister catch and look how close it was to the goal line, and things that just get into your head. And it's like, we shouldn't be playing this week. We shouldn't be playing this week. It's almost like
or the ref screwed us again.
It's like having to like if you. I don't know how the computers work nowadays. Everything gets saved into the cloud. But I had a project one time where I had it completely done and something happened to it. And I had to go do it again. It's like, this is work I shouldn't have to do.
Yeah.
And when you're doing work that you feel like you shouldn't have to do, you're not doing your best work.
Yeah,
right.
Yes.
So I eventually got there.
Yeah.
Well, one more. Josh McCarty, 28, unsung hero of the weekend. My wife, who consoled me after the Bills broke my heart.
Yep.
Josh, you should be used to it. They haven't won a playoff game since 1995.
That's all right. They're close, Josh.
It was there.
They're close.
It would have to drive you crazy. You're up 16-0 and you lose that game.
They need a big playmaker. They need A.J. Green, somebody like that
Their
this year.
season ended like it started because they were down 16-0 to the Jets, and they came back and won.
Right.
So
This wasn't the Jets,
tit for tat. We'll be right back.
This was Deshaun Watson.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.